In a time when being openly gay could end a career or worse, many beloved actors lived double lives, balancing fame with secrecy. Their passion for the craft burned brighter than the risk of exposure, shaping cinema while hiding their true selves. 1. Rudolph Valentino. Rudolph Valentino was the ultimate heartthrob of the silent film era, capturing audiences with his dark, smouldering looks and irresistible charm. His roles in The Sheik and The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse solidified him as the first true male sex symbol of Hollywood's golden age. But Valentino's off-screen life was as dramatic as his on-screen romances. His marriages to actresses Jean Acker and Natasha Rambova were highly publicized, though both ended in strange and mysterious ways. His marriage to Acker reportedly ended on their wedding night, when she locked him out of their hotel room, sparking rumors that their union was a publicity stunt. Whispers about Valentino's sexuality only intensified as tabloids latched onto stories about his effeminate behavior and rumored affairs with men. Critics even labeled him too feminine for Hollywood's rugged male standards. He frequently defended his masculinity, famously challenging a journalist to a boxing match to silence the gossip, which never happened. Despite the scandals, Valentino maintained his superstar status until his sudden death at 31 due to a ruptured ulcer. His untimely passing led to mass hysteria among fans, with thousands attending his funeral in New York. His legacy as one of cinema's first megastars endures, but so do the rumors about his personal life, making him a symbol of Hollywood's LGBTQ+ hidden history. Someone who lived under constant public scrutiny, yet still redefined male beauty and allure for generations to come. 2. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was the definition of the classic Hollywood leading man, tall, dark, and impossibly handsome. His deep voice and perfect jawline made him one of the most bankable stars of the 1950s and 1960s, starring in hits like Giant, Pillow Talk, and Magnificent Obsession. On screen, Hudson was always the suave romantic hero, stealing the hearts of leading ladies like Doris Day and Elizabeth Taylor. But behind his carefully crafted image was a reality the public couldn't see. Hudson was gay, a truth that was considered career-ending in the rigid, moralistic world of mid-century Hollywood. To maintain his masculine, heterosexual image, his studio arranged a marriage of convenience with his secretary, Phyllis Gates, though the relationship only lasted 3 years. In private, Hudson had several long-term relationships with men, though he lived in constant fear of being exposed by tabloid journalists. His close friends and colleagues knew, but the secret never went public until tragedy struck. In 1984, Hudson was diagnosed with AIDS, a disease still widely misunderstood and stigmatized at the time. He became the first major celebrity to go public with the diagnosis in 1985, shocking the world and humanizing the AIDS crisis. His death later that year marked a turning point in public awareness of the disease and LGBTQ+ rights. Today, Hudson is remembered not only as a Hollywood icon, but also as a tragic figure whose life helped spark greater compassion and understanding. 3. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was born to break boundaries. From the moment she appeared on screen in The Blue Angel, her striking beauty and unmistakable voice made her a global star. Her roles in films like Morocco and Shanghai Express cemented her place in cinema history, but it was her personal style and fearless defiance of social norms that truly set her apart. Dietrich loved to shock audiences with her androgynous fashion, often wearing tuxedos and top hats, a daring statement for a woman in the 1930s. But her rebelliousness didn't stop at fashion. Dietrich was openly bisexual in her personal life, having passionate affairs with both men and women. She famously romanced leading men like Gary Cooper and John Gilbert, while also being linked to women such as writer Mercedes D'Acosta and actress Claudette Colbert. While Hollywood's rigid studio system forced most stars to hide who they were, Dietrich seemed untouchable, too powerful, too mysterious, too magnetic to be constrained. She never publicly acknowledged her sexuality, but she didn't have to. She lived as she pleased, defying conventions with a smirk and a sultry wink. Dietrich's legacy isn't just her unforgettable screen roles, it's her fearless individuality, her refusal to conform, and her ability to thrive in a time when being different was dangerous. She was a star unlike any other, unapologetic and unforgettable. 4. Greta Garbo. Few stars in Hollywood's golden age were as captivating or as mysterious as Greta Garbo. The Swedish-born actress became a global icon with roles in classics like Camille, Anna Karenina, and Queen Christina. Her deep, soulful eyes and haunting screen presence mesmerized audiences, earning her the nickname the Divine Garbo. But while her on-screen romances were passionate and tragic, her personal life was a closely guarded secret. Garbo was intensely private, rarely giving interviews and refusing to attend award ceremonies. She famously declared, "I want to be alone," a quote that only added to her enigmatic reputation. This reclusive lifestyle fueled endless speculation about her relationships. Garbo was linked romantically to several women, including writer Mercedes D'Acosta and actress Lillian Tashman, though she never confirmed these rumors. Love letters between Garbo and D'Acosta that surfaced after her death suggest a deep, passionate connection. Despite the gossip, Garbo managed to keep her personal life out of the tabloids, creating a mythic figure whose allure has never faded. She left Hollywood abruptly in the early 1940s, retreating into a life of privacy in New York. To this day, her personal life remains a subject of fascination. Garbo's mystery endures, and she remains one of the most iconic and elusive figures in film history. 5. Cary Grant. Cary Grant embodied Hollywood elegance. With his impeccable style, smooth British accent, and timeless charm, he became one of cinema's greatest leading men, starring in hits like North by Northwest, To Catch a Thief, and An Affair to Remember. His public image was that of a debonair ladies' man, but his personal life was far more complicated. Throughout his life, Grant was rumoured to be romantically involved with actor Randolph Scott. The two shared a house for over a decade, often photographed together lounging by the pool or enjoying intimate dinners. Tabloids called their home Bachelor Hall, hinting at something more than friendship. Though Grant married 5 women over his lifetime, including heiress Barbara Hutton and actress Diane Cannon, his close relationship with Scott remained a topic of speculation. Grant always dismissed the rumours, insisting he and Scott were just close friends. Yet many biographers and Hollywood insiders believe their bond was much deeper than the public ever knew. Whether or not Grant was bisexual remains a mystery, but his ability to charm audiences on screen and keep them guessing off-screen cemented his legacy as one of the greatest stars in film history. His life, much like his roles, was complex, layered, and endlessly intriguing. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was one of the most talented and magnetic actors of Hollywood's golden age. With his brooding good looks and emotionally intense performances in films like From Here to Eternity and A Place in the Sun, he set a new standard for screen acting. But behind his undeniable talent was a man tormented by personal struggles, particularly his sexuality and substance abuse issues. Clift was known for his sensitivity, which made his characters feel so real, but it also made life off-screen incredibly difficult. He reportedly had relationships with both men and women, but never publicly came out, a decision likely driven by the unforgiving Hollywood environment of the 1950s. His friendship with Elizabeth Taylor was one of the most famous and enduring connections of his life. Taylor fiercely protected Clift, supporting him through personal crises and even helping him recover after a near-fatal car accident in 1956 that disfigured his face. The accident marked the start of Clift's tragic downward spiral. He relied on alcohol and pills to cope with pain, both physical and emotional. His acting remained brilliant despite his struggles, but his personal life became a tragic Hollywood cautionary tale. He died at just 45 from a heart attack, leaving behind a legacy of unforgettable performances and a haunting story of talent overshadowed by inner demons. 7. Ramon Novarro. Ramon Novarro was one of the biggest stars of Hollywood's silent film era, remembered best for his powerful performance in the epic Ben-Hur. His striking good looks and undeniable charisma made him an international sensation, rivaling even Rudolph Valentino. But Novarro's personal life was far from the glamorous roles he played on screen. Like many stars of his time, Novarro lived under the constant pressure of hiding his sexuality. He was gay, something Hollywood's conservative studio system could never publicly accept. While those close to him in the industry knew the truth, he was forced to play the role of a bachelor heartthrob for the public. His career struggled as sound films emerged, and by the 1930s he found himself pushed into smaller roles or forgotten entirely. Tragically, Novarro's life ended in a shocking and brutal way. In 1968, he was murdered by two young men he invited into his home, reportedly believing they were interested in him romantically. The men tortured and killed him, thinking he had money hidden in his house. His murder became one of Hollywood's darkest stories, highlighting the vulnerability of LGBTQ+ stars forced to live in secrecy. Despite this horrifying end, Novarro's legacy as one of the great silent film icons endures, and his story remains a sobering reminder of the dangers LGBTQ+ stars faced in Hollywood's past. 8. William Haines. William Haines was Hollywood's first openly gay star, not in the public sense, but in the way he lived his life off-screen. During the silent film era, Haines rose to fame with hits like Show People and became one of MGM's top leading men. His charm, good looks, and impeccable comedic timing made him a box office favorite. But what truly made Haines remarkable was his refusal to live a lie in an era when being gay could destroy a career. At the height of his fame, studio executives demanded Haines end his relationship with his longtime partner, Jimmy Shields, and enter a sham marriage for publicity. Haines refused, famously telling MGM studio boss Louis B. Mayer that he would rather live honestly than be a Hollywood star. He was fired from the studio and essentially blacklisted from the film industry. However, Haines and Shields stayed together for nearly 50 years, proving that love meant more to him than fame. After leaving acting, Haines reinvented himself as an interior designer, becoming one of the most sought-after decorators in Hollywood. His client list included stars like Joan Crawford, who remained one of his closest friends. Haines's story is one of quiet defiance and unwavering authenticity, making him a true LGBTQ trailblazer long before such stories could be told openly. James Whale. James Whale was a genius ahead of his time, a visionary director who gave us some of Hollywood's most iconic horror films, including Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein. His haunting visual style and flair for dramatic storytelling reshaped the horror genre forever. But Whale's story extends far beyond the eerie, thunder-filled labs of his films. He was also one of the few openly gay men working in Hollywood during the 1930s, a bold stance in an industry that thrived on secrecy. Whale was unapologetically himself, throwing extravagant parties at his Hollywood home where gay and lesbian artists could relax without fear of judgment. His success allowed him a rare freedom that few LGBTQ+ stars could enjoy. However, when the Hollywood spotlight faded, so did the industry's tolerance. As horror films became less popular, Whale found himself pushed to the margins of Hollywood, plagued by declining health and personal struggles. Whale took his own life in 1957. His death was shrouded in mystery until decades later, when his life story was explored in the critically acclaimed film Gods and Monsters, starring Ian McKellen. Whale's films continue to captivate audiences, and his legacy stands as a testament to creative brilliance, defiance, and the cost of living authentically in a world that wasn't ready for him. 10. Cole Porter. Cole Porter was a genius of American music, a composer and lyricist whose songs became the soundtrack of the 20th century. Hits like Anything Goes, Kiss Me, Kate, and Night and Day made him a Broadway legend. But behind Porter's dazzling success was a man living a complex double life. Though Porter married socialite Lynde Lee Thomas in 1919, their relationship was more of a partnership than a traditional marriage. Thomas provided Porter with social stability and protected his image in a society hostile toward LGBTQ+ people. Meanwhile, Porter's relationships with men were widely known in artistic circles, but never discussed publicly. His sharp, witty lyrics often hinted at deeper, hidden truths about love and identity, though audiences at the time likely missed these subtle messages. Despite his immense success, Porter endured significant personal hardships. A horseback riding accident in 1937 left him in chronic pain for the rest of his life, but he continued writing music until his death in 1964. Porter's work remains timeless, celebrated for its wit, sophistication, and emotional depth. His ability to infuse personal longing and hidden messages into his music allowed him to express himself in ways society would not permit, a legacy of brilliance shaped by both triumph and restraint. 11. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead was the original wild child of Hollywood. Known for her sharp wit, commanding presence, and bold personality, she lived her life as loudly and unapologetically as possible. Best remembered for her role in Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, Bankhead was a larger-than-life figure both on and off the screen. She was as famous for her outrageous behavior as she was for her acting, often making headlines for her scandalous antics and sharp-tongued comebacks. Bankhead's bisexuality was well known within the entertainment world, though she never officially came out. She had rumoured affairs with stars like Billie Holiday, actress Hattie McDaniel, and even playwright Mercedes D'Acosta. Tallulah once famously quipped, "I'm as pure as the driven slush," embracing her rebellious reputation with a wink. Her love life, substance use, and fierce independence made her a polarizing figure, both adored and condemned by Hollywood's elite. Despite her personal struggles, including battles with addiction, Bankhead's acting career spanned decades. Her stage performances were legendary, and her screen work, though less frequent, was equally unforgettable. Even in her later years, her charisma remained magnetic, and her larger-than-life personality left a permanent mark on Hollywood. Bankhead lived by her own rules in an era that demanded conformity, securing her place in entertainment history as one of Hollywood's most daring and unforgettable icons. 12. Liberace. Liberace wasn't just a performer, he was a spectacle. With his sparkling costumes, rhinestone-studded pianos, and flamboyant showmanship, he dazzled audiences across the world. At the height of his career, he was one of the highest-paid entertainers in the world, filling concert halls and dominating television. Behind the glitz, however, was a man fiercely protective of his personal life in an era when being openly gay could destroy a career. Throughout his life, Liberace publicly denied being gay, even going so far as to sue newspapers and magazines that suggested otherwise. His audience adored him, but many were unaware of his secret long-term relationships with men, including his high-profile romance with Scott Thorson, who was 40 years his junior. Their tumultuous relationship became public after Thorson sued Liberace for palimony in the 1980s, an explosive legal battle that exposed details of their life together. Liberace was diagnosed with AIDS in the mid-1980s, but continued to deny his illness until his death in 1987. His death marked a turning point in the conversation around AIDS in the entertainment world, forcing the public to confront the stigma surrounding the disease. Today, Liberace is remembered as a pioneer of unapologetic self-expression in performance, someone who never fit into society's boxes, even if he tried to hide certain truths about his life. 13. Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins will forever be remembered as Norman Bates from Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, a role that defined his career and etched his name in film history. His chilling portrayal of the disturbed motel owner remains one of the greatest performances in horror cinema. But behind his haunting screen presence was a deeply private and complicated man navigating his identity in an unforgiving Hollywood system. Perkins struggled with his sexuality throughout his life. Before marrying photographer Barry Berenson in 1973, he had several long-term relationships with men, including actor Tab Hunter and dancer Rudolph Nureyev. In the tightly controlled and often hostile environment of 1960s Hollywood, coming out was not an option. Perkins lived with constant fear of exposure, balancing career success with a personal life he had to keep hidden from the public eye. In the 1980s, Perkins contracted HIV but kept his illness private until his death from AIDS-related complications in 1992. His passing shocked fans and cast new light on his intensely private life. Despite his personal struggles, Perkins left behind an incredible acting legacy, earning critical acclaim for roles beyond Psycho in films like Goodbye Again and Fear Strikes Out. His life remains a poignant reminder of Hollywood's history of repression and the toll it took on even its brightest stars. 14. Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero was one of classic Hollywood's most versatile actors, equally at home playing charming Latin lovers in romantic comedies and over-the-top villains like the Joker in the 1960s Batman TV series. His portrayal of the Joker remains iconic, thanks to his infectious laugh and unforgettable clownish antics. But while Romero's on-screen persona was larger than life, he kept his private life intensely guarded. Throughout his career, rumours about Romero's sexuality circulated, though he never publicly addressed them. He never married, despite being linked to numerous actresses in the press, a common Hollywood tactic to deflect speculation. Industry insiders, however, were well aware that Romero was gay, though he preferred to keep his romantic life out of the public eye. Even with this secrecy, Romero managed to sustain a long and successful career spanning 6 decades. His charm, charisma, and comedic timing made him a fan favourite, and he earned respect within Hollywood for his professionalism and gracious personality. In an era when being openly gay could ruin a career, Romero skillfully navigated the tricky balance of public image and private truth, leaving behind a film and TV legacy as colourful as his famous Joker costume. 15. Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde was one of the funniest, most quick-witted comedians of his time, best known for his role as the centre square on Hollywood Squares. With his razor-sharp tongue, campy delivery, and unmistakable voice, he became one of TV's most beloved and flamboyant personalities. His biting humour, delivered with a smirk and a wink, was both his greatest asset and his shield. Though Lynde never officially came out, his sexuality was one of Hollywood's worst-kept secrets. His flamboyant mannerisms and witty, double entendre-filled comebacks made him a gay icon long before such representation was common on TV. However, behind the scenes, Lynde struggled with personal demons, including alcohol addiction and loneliness. He often used humour to deflect attention from his private struggles. Despite his battles, Lynde's career thrived in the 1960s and 70s. He appeared in popular shows like Bewitched and starred in films like Bye Bye Birdie, where his comedic genius shone. His campy, over-the-top persona broke barriers in a time when LGBTQ+ representation was nearly non-existent. Paul Lynde's life was a complex mix of public success and private pain, but his enduring influence on comedy and pop culture remains undeniable. 16. Raymond Burr. Raymond Burr was the commanding star of Perry Mason and Ironside, 2 of the most iconic TV shows of the 1950s and 60s. With his deep voice and towering presence, Burr played brilliant, no-nonsense characters who always got their way. His roles made him a household name, but his personal life was a carefully constructed mystery designed to protect his career. To avoid suspicion about his sexuality, Burr invented an elaborate backstory, claiming he had been tragically widowed and lost a son to leukemia. These stories, though entirely fabricated, helped explain why the successful, handsome star never remarried or seemed to have a personal life. In reality, Burr was in a long-term relationship with actor and producer Robert Benavides, a partnership that lasted over 30 years. Hollywood insiders knew the truth, but Burr managed to keep his private life under wraps throughout his career. He and Benavides lived quietly together, running an orchid business and a vineyard when Burr wasn't working. After Burr's death in 1993, the truth about his personal life finally emerged, adding a deeply human layer to his legacy. Burr's story is a poignant reminder of the lengths LGBTQ+ stars once had to go to maintain their careers in an unforgiving industry. 17. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck was one of the toughest, most magnetic stars of Hollywood's golden age. Best remembered for her role as the seductive femme fatale in Double Indemnity, Stanwyck's career spanned 5 decades, earning her a place among Hollywood's most respected actresses. But while her career was an open book, her personal life was kept under lock and key, fueling speculation that has endured for decades. Stanwyck's intense privacy and refusal to discuss her personal affairs only deepened the mystery surrounding her. She was married twice, but both marriages ended in divorce. Despite frequent tabloid gossip, she never remarried or spoke publicly about her romantic life. In Hollywood's inner circles, she was rumoured to have had relationships with women, including close friendships with actresses like Joan Crawford and Tallulah Bankhead. Her fierce independence and career-focused lifestyle stood out in an era when actresses were expected to marry and settle down. Stanwyck was one of the few major female stars to successfully maintain her career without the stability of a husband, which was practically unheard of at the time. While she never confirmed or denied the rumours, Stanwyck's legacy is one of resilience, talent, and sheer determination. A woman who lived life her way, no explanations given. 18. Nancy Kulp. Nancy Kulp may not be a household name today, but she was a beloved character actress best known for playing the bookish, sharp-tongued Miss Jane Hathaway on the Beverly Hillbillies. With her tailored suits, no-nonsense attitude and dry wit, Kulp's portrayal of Miss Hathaway became iconic, subtly challenging gender norms on 1960s TV. Though Kulp never officially came out during her lifetime, she was widely known within Hollywood's tight-knit LGBTQ+ community as a lesbian. Her role as the intellectual, career-driven Hathaway, who constantly outsmarted her bumbling boss Mr. Drysdale, resonated with viewers who weren't used to seeing such assertive women on TV. Her character's unspoken crush on Jethro Clampett added comedic tension, though it was clearly played for laughs. Kulp kept her personal life private, though she remained politically active throughout her life. In the 1980s, she even ran for Congress in Pennsylvania, but faced intense criticism and prejudice due to her perceived sexuality. While she lost the election, she earned admiration for her candidness and courage. Nancy Kulp's work on the Beverly Hillbillies quietly broke barriers, making her a trailblazer for representation, even if the world wasn't quite ready to acknowledge it. 19. Charles Laughton. Charles Laughton was one of the greatest actors of his generation, known for his powerful, emotionally charged performances in films like Mutiny on the Bounty and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. With his commanding presence and remarkable acting range, Laughton became a celebrated figure in both film and theatre. Yet behind his towering screen persona was a deeply personal struggle to keep his private life out of the spotlight. Laughton was married to actress Elsa Lanchester for over 30 years, but their relationship was far from conventional. While they were devoted companions and professional collaborators, it was widely understood within Hollywood's inner circles that Laughton was gay. He reportedly had discreet relationships with men throughout his life, though public acknowledgement of his sexuality was impossible, given the harsh realities of the time. Despite the secrecy, Laughton poured his complex emotions into his work, giving some of the most unforgettable performances in cinematic history. His intense, often tortured characters seemed to mirror his own personal struggles. In a world that demanded conformity, Laughton left behind a legacy defined by raw talent and unparalleled artistic depth, earning respect and admiration that transcends Hollywood's long-forgotten prejudices. 20. Richard Chamberlain. Richard Chamberlain was the ultimate 1960s heartthrob, thanks to his starring role as the handsome young Dr. Kildare in the hit TV series of the same name. With his classic good looks and undeniable charm, he became a teen idol almost overnight, receiving thousands of fan letters from adoring women who didn't know they were idolizing a man with a secret he couldn't reveal. For decades, Chamberlain kept his sexuality hidden, knowing that coming out could end his career. He lived under intense pressure, projecting the perfect all-American leading man image while keeping his personal life private. In the 1970s and 80s, as his career expanded into acclaimed roles in The Thornbirds and Shogun, Chamberlain remained one of the most beloved stars of his era. It wasn't until 2003, when he published his memoir, Shattered Love, that Chamberlain publicly came out as gay, sharing the struggles he faced while navigating fame in a hostile industry. His honesty inspired countless LGBTQ+ actors and fans, proving that it's never too late to live authentically. Chamberlain's legacy isn't just his groundbreaking career, it's his courage to tell his story on his own terms, earning him respect and admiration from a new generation. 21. Vincent Price. Vincent Price was the king of horror films, known for his chilling performances in classics like House of Wax, The Fly, and The Pit and the Pendulum. With his deep, resonant voice and menacing yet elegant screen presence, Price became an unforgettable icon in Hollywood's history. But beyond the eerie characters he played, Price lived a life full of complexity, grace, and quiet defiance. Though married twice and a devoted family man, Price was long rumoured to be bisexual. Close friends and industry insiders spoke of his relationships with both men and women, though he never publicly confirmed anything. In an era when careers were routinely destroyed by such revelations, Price managed to navigate the industry with remarkable skill. His sophisticated persona, combined with his talent and wit, helped shield him from the harshest public scrutiny. Later in life, Price became an outspoken supporter of LGBTQ+ rights, inspired in part by his daughter Victoria, who came out as a lesbian. He became a passionate advocate for acceptance and equality, lending his voice to causes that were still controversial at the time. Today, Vincent Price is remembered not just for his bone-chilling film roles, but for his generosity, kindness, and unwavering support for LGBTQ+ rights. His legacy is far deeper than the characters he played. It's about how he lived with courage, integrity, and empathy. 22. George Cukor. George Cukor was one of the most celebrated directors of Hollywood's golden age, creating timeless classics like My Fair Lady, A Star is Born, and The Philadelphia Story. His films were filled with elegance, charm, and unforgettable performances from Hollywood's top stars, including Katharine Hepburn, Judy Garland, and Audrey Hepburn. But while his professional life was dazzling, Cukor's personal life was something he carefully managed behind the scenes. Cukor was gay, a fact well known within Hollywood, but never publicly acknowledged during his lifetime. In the restrictive studio era, being openly gay could have ended his career, so Cukor found a way to thrive while keeping his private life discreet. His home became the setting for some of Hollywood's most legendary private parties, where gay and lesbian stars could relax without fear of being exposed. These gatherings offered a safe haven in a hostile industry, helping create a secret network of support within the entertainment world. Despite the personal challenges he faced, Cukor's career flourished. His sensitivity as a director helped create some of the most iconic performances in film history, particularly from actresses struggling with the pressure of stardom. George Cukor's legacy isn't just his incredible filmography, it's also his role as a quiet protector of Hollywood's LGBTQ+ community, creating beauty on screen while fostering acceptance behind the scenes. 23. Sal Mineo. Sal Mineo was Hollywood's original rebel without a cause. As the troubled and sensitive Plato in the iconic 1955 film, Mineo earned 2 Academy Award nominations and became one of the first teen idols of the era. His dark good looks and emotionally raw performances set him apart from his more polished contemporaries, making him a beloved figure for young moviegoers. But Mineo's life off-screen was far more complicated and ultimately tragic. In a time when being gay in Hollywood was career suicide, Mineo's sexuality became a whispered secret. He reportedly had relationships with men throughout his career, though he never publicly came out. By the late 1960s, as Hollywood's taste changed, Mineo struggled to find roles that matched his earlier success. His career faded, but he continued to work in theatre and independent films, earning critical praise even when mainstream stardom eluded him. Mineo's life ended in a horrifying tragedy. In 1976, he was murdered outside his Los Angeles apartment in a senseless robbery. His death shocked Hollywood and devastated his devoted fans, many of whom saw him as a symbol of misunderstood youth and lost potential. Today, Sal Mineo is remembered as a pioneering figure in LGBTQ+ Hollywood history, a talented, complicated artist whose legacy endures despite the brevity of his life. 24. Farley Granger. Farley Granger was the perfect embodiment of the brooding, sensitive leading man in 1940s and 50s Hollywood. His standout roles in Alfred Hitchcock's Rope and Strangers on a Train cemented his place in cinematic history. But his personal life was anything but typical for a Hollywood star of his time. Granger lived authentically behind the scenes, openly discussing his relationships with both men and women later in life. At the height of his career, Granger avoided the usual Hollywood publicity machine. He never conformed to the romantic leading man image studios wanted him to portray. Instead, he lived by his own rules, maintaining long-term relationships with men, while also dating prominent actresses like Shelley Winters. In his memoir, Include Me Out. Published in 2007, Granger candidly shared details of his personal life, showing little concern for society's outdated norms. His willingness to speak honestly about his bisexuality was groundbreaking, considering the time he came from. Despite fading from the spotlight after the 1950s, Granger continued acting in theatre and smaller film roles well into his later years. His life and career stand as a reminder that some stars quietly defied Hollywood's restrictive image-making machine, living on their terms long before it was safe to do so. Dirk Bogarde. Dirk Bogarde was one of Britain's most distinguished actors, with a career that spanned everything from romantic heartthrob roles to daring, dark character studies. He first gained fame in light-hearted British films of the 1950s, but later gravitated toward more complex roles in films like The Servant, The Night Porter, and Victim, a groundbreaking film about homosexuality, which was still criminalised in the UK at the time. Though Bogarde never publicly came out, his film choices spoke volumes. Victim, in particular, was an extraordinarily brave project. He played a closeted lawyer being blackmailed for his sexuality, a storyline considered highly controversial in 1961. Bogarde's intense, layered performances hinted at an inner world shaped by experiences he rarely discussed. In his personal life, Bogarde was in a long-term relationship with his manager and companion, Anthony Forward. Though they never labelled their relationship publicly, the two lived together for decades, creating a quiet life of shared creativity and companionship. Bogarde's reluctance to come out was likely due to the harsh societal attitudes of the time. However, his filmography left a lasting impact on LGBTQ+ representation in cinema, exploring forbidden subjects with courage and artistry. His life and work continue to inspire, showing how art can be both personal and political, even when lived in the shadows. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.